Welcome to Comedy from the Middle of Nowhere. I am Scott Ecker, soon to be the only Scottish host in late night television. And we've got a really fun episode coming up here where I interview my former co-star at Theater B, Lucy Black. She's a great DJ on Rock 102 and has a lot of great opinions and is a good musician and just an all-around fun person. I hope you enjoy. But yeah, so you're on Rock 102, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And how's that going?
Good. Yeah, I love it. I work mornings, 5:30 to 9 a.m. with two other partners. We work on a 3-person morning show team. It's called Scotch Tank and Lucy.
And this is your first morning show gig, right?
I've done mornings before, but I've done them solo.
Yeah.
On stations who were kind of like less invested in their morning show, shall I say. It was kind of more of a thing like, we just need a body in there.
Okay.
So, but this is more of like an actual show where we get, you know, I get to use some of my theater stuff.
Yeah.
For example, scripting and, you know, doing zany bits and music, and so a lot more bells and whistles. But it's early.
So the early is tough to, is it tough to perform that early, or?
You know, it can be, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
And even now, your brain just kind of is not quite woken up.
I have that all hours of the day, so I get that.
I have constant brain farts happening anyways,
Yeah.
but mornings doesn't help any. So my day starts at like 4 in the morning,
Yeah.
and I typically try to get out of bed.
Okay.
I might hit the snooze a couple of times. And then, you know, from 5:30 on, I'm locked in until 2 o'clock on the air.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I do the morning show, and then I stay on, and I do middays and get to talk music with the listeners. And so, yeah, I really enjoy that, actually.
Yeah, no, it's always fun, like, just for me hearing someone that I know on the radio, because, like, when someone in Rock 102's playing, and then it's your voice there, that's always fun. Right? Yeah.
I did a play with her once.
Exactly.
That's me.
But the thing I do find interesting is that talking to you in person or on stage is different than hearing you on the, like, you have a radio voice. Could you give us a sample of how you would speak on that?
It's kind of weird.
So, like, the Spherion commercial, right? You do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That would be like my industrial delivery is what you
Okay,
call
so
that.
give us a sample of the industrial delivery.
Okay. I don't know. Are you looking for a job? It's just kind of like that warm,
There's a rhythm to it.
soft. It's kind of like a deeper spot in my voice.
Yeah.
And it's actually like the money-making spot in my voice. That's the
Okay.
one I usually get asked to perform, you know, as opposed to all the other fun things I wish I got paid to do, like character voices and doing stupid things. And I enjoy that stuff. But, you know, something industrial pays the bills. That's kind of where the money's at. So.
Well, that's nice that you have a money-making part of your voice. Many people have those.
I'm really glad to stumble upon that realization
So how
in my life.
How did you stumble upon that?
I actually got into radio totally backdoor in a very weird kind of a way. I used to play in a band in town called Betty Does, or Betty Does Veronica before we had to change the name because Archie Comics came after us.
Really?
Yes.
Nice.
They were like, this is a little too sexy. We don't want you using the name. And so we kind of had dropped one of them so it wasn't so connected to Archie Comics. But bummer, because it was a great band name.
It is.
So I was performing it, and it was funny because at a couple of gigs, actually, some other radio professionals in town had approached me, like my friend Booge. He had come up to me, and he's been doing radio for years, and said, "God, you got a great voice for radio. If your music ever burns you, or you know doesn't work out, you should look into radio." And never, spoke of it again. Lo and behold, I'm bartending after I had quit the band, and I happen to have a table a couple of tables would come in and play darts on Tuesdays. And one of the guys on one of these dart teams was the program director for, at the time, it was The Dam.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
T-Bone. Yeah. And so I got to know his group of friends really well. I got to know him really well just from bartending. And he had said to me, if you could learn how to take your, I don't know how to, smart ass, sassy kind of, because I joke around, around with people and, I try to think of clever things to say and to make people smile. And so he's like, if you can transition that to air, I think you'd be really good on radio. And I was like, oh, okay, didn't think anything of it. A couple months later, an opening happens to appear. They needed somebody to do board operation for a syndicated morning show, Bob and Tom. That was So my first job in radio was getting up at the butt crack of dawn to sit at a console and do this.
Yeah.
And then do weather every once in a while. And that was my very first gig in radio.
And how'd that transition into DJing?
I ended up just, I'm one of those people where if there's something I'm doing I really like, I want to know everything about it.
Okay.
And I've always kind of been self-taught. So I grabbed onto anything I could. As soon as my foot was in the door and I was able to get on the equipment, and then I'm like, oh, look at all this fun stuff, look at these programs. I wanted to learn that. So somebody showed me how to open a mic and record my voice, early on, and I just went in and I, on my own time, sit and practice and mix and play with audio. And it took a lot of like personal unpaid time to finally kind of show people that they were like, I think you're ready for air. So, then it was like somebody had to go on vacation, sub in, now you're on the air, you get to show people what you can do. And so from there they were pretty happy with me. So I was able to kind of pick more things up and transitioned into my own show and then slowly transitioned into mornings. So here I am.
So you've been on the Dam and Rock 102, what?
Just Rock 102.
Just, okay.
Yeah, so I came in when it was Rock 102.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's when I was running Bob and Tom, and then I kind of hopped around a couple of places after that.
Yeah, I remember Popster, right?
Yep, I did Popster for a
you
while.
You organized, because I was in a commercial that...
dancing.
I think aired... Well, no, my mom was like, a coworker said I saw Scott on TV at like 5 a.m. And like that's the only proof that I have that the commercial ever aired.
Prime time.
Yes. And then you organized Flash Mob in downtown Fargo.
Yes, thank you to everyone who participated in that, by the way.
I'm the bald guy in the back who looks like he's hemorrhaging. That's,
the theater community really came through for that, by the way. That was fantastic. You guys are awesome. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, we've done a lot of fun things with radio. I enjoy all the experiences I've had, and every experience that I get, it's just another opportunity to learn something new, meet a new person. And for me, my transition into any career I've had to this point has really, networking has had a strong play in that.
Yeah.
So I just think that's the best advice I can give to you. Network. Get to know people. Don't be afraid to shake a hand. Because that's how I got into radio.
Speaking of fun things, like on Facebook, your profile pics, like you're always uploading like you and like famous musicians or something. You seem to do a lot of, or you're partying, but you're in your work. And that's part of your job, right?
It is, and it sounds glamorous, and I don't want to complain because I love what I do. I love my job. Okay, and there are parts of the job that are really cool, and those are the things that when people think of radio, they want to get into. Oh, I want to go because you get to go to all these concerts. Oh, you get to meet all these musicians. Well, you're working those events. I mean, at the end of the day, you are working those events, and sometimes you do get the perks, but at the end of the day, I have definitely passed up pictures with celebrities to give the experience to our fans. So there's, for every picture you see of me on my Facebook page with maybe a guitarist or somebody, a singer, whatever the case is, there are probably 5 or 6 opportunities behind that I passed up because I was behind a camera taking pictures of our listeners. And that's what we're there for, I mean, it's great to have the experience for ourselves, but I want to give that to somebody. I want to give that to the person who's listening every day and who says, hey, great job, Lucy. And, hey, I got something for you.
Well, I think it's great too that from the outside it looks like, oh, she's having fun, and that you don't seem like a regular punch in the clock type of employee or something.
And radio's not a typical punch in the clock kind of a job. I think like people get into it or think of getting into radio because they're like, oh, what a cake job. You show up, you're on the air for 3 hours and then you're done. Like, who doesn't want that gig? There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes and around those hours. Anyone who does a show on the air usually prepares, and I'm definitely a stickler for prep. So I'm constantly reading and researching and seeing what people are posting on Facebook and Twitter, and I'm just trying to find something new that I can bring to the air. Something new and intriguing to talk about, something that's going to what's going to spark up a conversation? What is somebody going to hear and go, oh, I comment on that?
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes that can be a little hard to find the longer you're doing it, and then at some point you kind of just get it.
Yeah.
And it starts to make sense, and you realize you've been really overthinking it probably most of the time, you know?
A lot of things are like that.
Yeah, because I always find some of the best conversations are over the littlest, dumbest things. You know, some of the stuff that'll spawn people, you know, like, which way do you put the toilet paper on the roll? And like, tons of people want to comment on that, you know? That's a huge conversation for people. Why? I don't know. It's just things, everyday little things, like, those are the things that people will go, I gotta comment on that. So.
That's good. So there's still a big following for radio. People are still listening, even though technology is changing. There's so many competing.
Yes.
So what's the key, you think, for the longevity of the radio format?
I think radio is still kind of catching up and changing in ways. You know, radio is kind of like the music industry in that it's a corporate beast, and it's become so over the last couple of decades. Like when you think of radio in the 70s,
I
wasn't alive for it either, but I've read books from DJs who lived it.
Yeah.
And it was very much for the DJ, for the people. Like when a DJ would come in, you know, you'd have your vinyls and you'd be spinning those and you'd play whatever you want and you program. I mean, when you're in, you're responsible for the music and everything. And some of that stuff is actually done automated now for us.
Yeah.
You know, we definitely have a hand in the process of selecting which bands we're playing, and that's one of my favorite things is actually cheerleading for the bands, which I do hardcore behind the scenes. You know, it's like, once again, for every new song we get on the air, there are easily 10 songs behind it that I've gone, we should be playing this. We should get this on the air. We should be playing this band. We should talk about these guys. These guys are great.
Been able to get some of those out there? Or?
Yeah, in fact, we just picked up a new band who I love. They're called Royal Blood.
Okay.
And they're out of the UK, and their sound is just, I don't know, it kind of like almost has that Black Keys, Jack White feel. Two dudes.
Okay.
Making a lot of noise.
Good.
So just really digging into their instruments, and I just love that. I like music that is real and raw, and you know, I want to hear the slide of your fingers on your guitar. I want to hear you make a mistake and leave it in there, because to me I hear a musician behind an instrument, you know, as opposed to, I think people have become so used to listening to music that is not really music. I mean, it's music. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think technology and everything that's happening right now is amazing, and it's opening up music to like a whole new place.
Yeah.
And a lot of bands are incorporating some of these different like pieces of technology into their sound. But at the end of the day, I think people have become used to hearing really overly produced music.
Oh, definitely.
And music that has really been tweaked in a studio for hours. Like recording, post-production, that's the difference. And that's, I think, one thing that draws me to rock and roll is a lot of rock bands who are still doing it right are doing recording post-production. You know what I mean? So they keep a lot of, it's real sound, it's real music, that's a real guitar, you just know, you can feel that it's different. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I just want to point out that, like, you're a radio DJ, but you're being very visual intentionally. Like, you know, guitar. And do you do that when you're on the air to speak, you know, like a live performer? That's awesome.
I'm kind of glad there are no, like, because some stations have actually started webcamming where you can go in and you can watch the DJ in the studio, and I'm like, I'm so glad we never picked up on that trend, because I do feel kind of like a crazy person. Like in the morning now, not so much, because I've got two other people that I'm having a conversation with and bouncing off of. But when I'm by myself for the other 5 hours during the day, I think if somebody stood in the window and watched me do my show, it would look like a crazy person.
That's awesome.
Because I am kind of just like, talking to myself in there, you know. And I'm in a room by myself. That's the hardest thing in radio to do, is transition into being in a completely closed off environment. But speaking like you're speaking to one person through a microphone. You know? It's tough to do. Like, probably what I think a lot of people spend a good portion of their career trying to perfect. And when you hear a good jock and you're not quite sure what it is about them,
that's it.
That you're like, God, this person's really good. I like listening to them. It's because they're speaking to you.
Yeah.
Or at least they make it feel that way. You know, instead of, hey, what's up, all you guys, hey, everybody, you know, when it feels like you're having an intimate conversation with the DJ. And I think that's one thing that's why radio won't be going anywhere.
Personal connection.
Right, because you can listen to Spotify and you can get any song you want. You can plug yourself into Pandora and customize a radio station.
Yeah.
But there isn't somebody there connecting you to the music. And that is one thing that I love doing in radio. Yeah. I love being able to say, did you know this about this band, by the way? And also researching that and finding it out for myself. Really getting to know the artists, so.
You've been talking a lot about musicians and music, but you're also a musician. You mentioned Betty does copyright or whatever. But you have a CD that came out, or finally. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. I listened to the CD. I wrote a song "Better Person" is on my iPod. I listened to that one.
Thank you. That means a lot to me.
No, the song means a lot to me. It's one of those like, this is about me.
I've lived this.
Done that. Yeah.
As a music writer, that really means a lot to me because once again, it's that connecting with somebody else and really. Just, you know, I don't know that I was ready to release my album ever, if I was ever ready to release it. And, you know, I spent like 10 years doing music, and then I finally had, gotten into a studio, and I had these songs that I'd been playing, and I was very confident, and I really wanted to do an album. And so we recorded it, and I was in my early 20s when we had kind of wrapped it up, and then I ran into some financial situations, and my music basically got stuck in a studio.
Yeah.
And it took me almost 5-7 years maybe to get my hands back on my music, get it mastered, get it on a disc. You know, every step of the process costs money. Yeah. And I was kind of like getting into music right on the cusp of all of this explosion of YouTube and MySpace and all these new opportunities, all this technology now that's available to artists to you can record. You know, obviously you need good musicians behind it, but you can make an album in your basement. Yeah. You know, I wish I had known that instead of investing thousands of dollars into a studio. Who put out a great album for me? Yeah. I love the musicians I had play on my album. I had some of the best musicians on the circuit in town when I did it. I love my songs that I did. They still mean a lot to me. Yeah. Probably why I don't really play live a lot is because I think they almost mean too much to me. Okay. You know, it was like a time of my life where...
They're very personal.
Right, and I'm glad that you can hear that because they do feel very... Even when I listen to them now, like if I go back, I'm like, oh yeah, I wrote a song, let's listen. And it's like they still drum up these emotions for me. And that's one thing I think I have a lot of respect for other artists who are out there playing and really confident in what they're putting out and able to open that personal part of themselves up to everybody. Yeah. You know, I had my CD release party and I found myself becoming over emotional to the point where I couldn't even perform. It was like all of the lyrics, the emotion of finally having it done, and then realizing I'm putting it out there for everybody. It was almost like too much, and I kind of just fell off of the wagon after that. You know, it's not that I don't love music, it's not that I'm not going to write again. I just don't really know that I have something to say at this point. Yeah. I feel like I said a lot in my first album. And
you did. And is that available on iTunes or anything so we can plug it? Or anything so?
I think
so Lucy Black finally is what the viewers should.
I know. Maybe I should get some of my music up online, I guess.
Yeah.
It's one of those things.
If I find a link, I'll post a link on the show or something for it.
I know I have a Facebook page, but I don't even know if it's public because once again, I've kind of got it up there and I started putting my tunes on there and I just...
There's something about creating something and okay, I'm done with it, on to the next thing. I've written a lot of things that's I could put the time and effort into getting that out there, or I could just, it's done, it's out, whatever.
Right, well, and I think I'm not ashamed of my album, and I'm not ashamed of the process I went through. I went through a very, tough learning process with my first album, and I really didn't have anyone to give me good advice going through the process. Yeah. Great, I learned, but I also just got done paying for my album this year.
Okay.
like
Yeah.
thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. It was a long road.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look at the giant box of CDs that are sitting in my closet right now,
Okay.
I don't feel shame about that.
Yeah.
You know, because in the beginning I think I did, like, I should be out there selling these and I should be playing and, you know, people want to hear this. And but it is kind of a check off the bucket list for me, I think.
Yeah.
I've done a lot in my life to almost fruition. And I think my Finally album was one of the first things I ever did that was, for one, such a lengthy process. So hard to get to the finish point, but I got there.
Well, even the title is kind of victory lap.
It totally is, yeah. It was like years later, you know? So, and that was the other thing too. I don't know, some of the songs I don't really feel, I just don't have those feelings. I've grown up a lot, and some of it I've moved on from, but there are certain songs that are really still personal for me, like Better Person. I've maybe played that live once because it's just like...
And yeah, I'd say, you know, it was absolutely worthwhile, because that song really is, you know, one that I do listen to sometimes, and I like it a lot.
Thank you.
It means a lot to me, so.
It means a lot to me that you like it. It's funny because I've heard other people bring up that one track, and so there's something special with it. And I remember the recording process for that too. It was I had you know, this very low, mellow kind of guitar picking that I had envisioned in my mind, and so we went in to record it, and I actually had one of my guitarists go in and lay down to save money, you know, have a pro do it.
Yeah.
But then our drummer came in, and I really think is Dale Heeb, awesome drummer, so good. I think he plays with Dirty Word.
How do you spell that? Just to give promo.
I believe it's Heeb. I think it's Heeb, Heeb, or Hei.
No, I just love getting people plugs in on the show.
And I can give you all this information too.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I should probably, you do all the research for your show I haven't done. Yeah. It's like, it'll be casual talk.
It's alright, we have like theater and all that stuff in the past, so. Excellent drummer, and he came in and he kind of laid down this little, like, scatty sort of, I don't know what the thing is called that he used. It's like a brush on the snare, and it's like and he just had this, it was such a moving, like, beat that he put behind it that it completely brought the song to life in a totally different way. So, those are moments in the studio process that I really enjoyed, was getting to work with some really talented people who, you know, you come in with one vision, and then all of a sudden somebody can come in and completely like, that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just nail this feeling that you were trying to get and you didn't know how it was going to get there.
Collaboration is just such a great, you know, because I think of, like, choir, for example. You know, most of the other people's voices sound great individually, but when it all comes together, there's a different sound. It's like it's happening between all these people. And, you know, theaters like that, improvs like that, even, you know, stand-up in the audience, something's happening between that.
I love stand-up.
Yeah.
I have a soft spot for stand-up.
You ever tried it?
No.
Should. There's a lot of places to try that,
I know there are. And I think all the time about it. I'm like, I could write a setup maybe. I don't know.
Here's what I tell people, like, you'll never be the worst person at the open mic. Because the worst people are like the regulars who never grow, and it's like, oh, it's this joke again. It's, they're still here. But the new people, you're all like, oh, first time, and people are very giving. You know, so it's not, you know, people aren't going to come after you or anything. They're very understanding. Yes.
Don't hate me.
But also, like, I always tell people, like, if you're capable of being, like, intelligent, you should probably do it then. Because it's the ones that don't think that are the bad stand-ups.
Yeah. Well, I think people think I can get up there and talk to an audience.
Yeah, and it's not just
that easy.
Although I have done many shows where it was just that and it did not go well.
Improv, or was it supposed to be stand-up?
Stand-up.
Oh, okay.
I've done bad improv shows too. I've done,
Improv can go terribly wrong, and that's what makes it brilliant, you know? Is because it hits or it doesn't, or, you know? And sometimes I almost think the awkwardness of improv, when you do get to a standstill or something isn't going right, to the audience, that can be an interesting thing to watch. So.
You don't want to, like, rely on that though.
No.
Because then that's abusing the audience and the other players. And
Let me work out my stuff in front of you.
Well, and that's what stand-up is. That's work out your stuff and like what you were talking about with your songs being personal. There's a lot of jokes I can't tell anymore because I'm happy now, you know? Or improv, you're not working through personal things.
Right.
That's more collaboration. But.
Yeah. No, I've definitely been kicking around some thoughts about stand-up. I really have a lot of respect for...
Yeah.
There's a lot of females in stand-up right now that are,
absolutely.
to me, super brave.
Yeah.
You know, I love people like, of course, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, SNL. I'm a big fan of SNL. I love the ladies of SNL. I love that they are highlighting women more on SNL. I love people like Amy Schumer. You know, to me, she is just amazing. Chelsea Handler, just women who are loud and out there, and they are not afraid to say like, vagina, I've got one, you know? But it's just like they're putting it out there. They're women, they're strong women, and they're hilarious.
Yeah, they're not exactly stand-ups, but have you ever heard Garfunkel and Oates? Kate Micucci, Ricky Lindholm, they do a comedy music duo. Look them up, they're some of my favorites. They're really good. You know, they have funny songs about I would never have sex with you, or just stuff like it's very honest and very funny. But no, talking about women in stand-up or comedy in general, I was in a women's studies class last semester, and we were supposed to write a paper on women in male-dominated fields, and I chose comedy, and I interviewed some local female comics about that, and did some research, and that is one where women are underrepresented, which is interesting. There's a lot of interesting issues that brings up.
And I would say radio too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's getting better. It seems like it's moving, and I mean, I'm less than a decade in the industry, but as somebody, and maybe it's just this local area, as somebody who's getting into radio and who I would consider myself a very strong female, I mean, obviously, I don't, I don't get all gussied up every day and,
and I asked you to, but it's fine, don't worry about it.
No, I mean, I present myself,
Yes.
but I'm comfortable with who I am, I like to wear hats, that's me, this is me. I can't be another girl. I can't be a girly girl.
Yeah.
And to me, in our industry, those women are really applauded right now. And I don't know if it's just a local thing or whatever, but I have definitely lost more than one job to a woman who was more girly. And I was told that was the explanation. Well, you're just not girly enough. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Who are you talking to? That's the only thing that I think there are more strong female voices that are coming up in radio. And I've auditioned for all female shows, which is really exciting to hear that radio is starting to consider that. Because I don't think that right now it is speaking to real women. Okay. When it's trying to say, this beautiful woman over here who's perfect, that's who women are. And it's not. Yeah. I really know more women like myself than I know over on the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just because I don't hang out with those kinds of women. I don't go to a country club. I don't do those kinds of things. So.
Yeah. But I think that those individuals are succeeding, and it goes back to the personality being what's great about radio.
Yeah.
So when you are just yourself, that's what the audience can respond to.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's anything to do with the voice? Like, there's a quote from the movie In a World, which is about voice acting, where sexist old male characters, like, the industry just does not crave a female voice. That's not sexist, it's true. Do you think that's true, or no? It's more about
I think that
establishment stuff?
I think it's definitely opened itself up as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
There are females making great money in radio. I myself do voice work on the side. Yeah. So I make pretty good money with my voice. I don't think that's true. That sounds like the same argument too that I love reading Variety. Yeah. And I was reading an article where they were kind of talking about the lack of women being represented at some of the award shows in this past year. And how there weren't a lot of female-directed movies being pushed forward by the studios, and that was really disappointing. Yeah. So I think overall...
And the movie I quoted from In a World was directed by Blake Bell, written... so there are great movies like that.
And it's, I guess we do still organization, this United States of America or whatever. You know, the music industry is the same way. It seems very male-dominated sometimes, but I think we're moving in the right direction.
It's good.
Don't you?
Yeah. You're
I mean,
second.
there's more women out there who are standing on not a soapbox but a pulpit or whatever you want to call it, and going, you know what? We do need more women.
Yeah.
And they're encouraging other females. If you're funny, write. You know, put your material out there. Be loud. Be aggressive.
Well, the fact that
people like me, I need to hear that cheerleading because it can be hard in a very conservative area to continue to have faith in yourself and what you're putting out there and who you are and what you believe yourself to be. When so many things are telling you that you're wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but still in this area specifically, because I'm, organizing the show and interviewing different people, I've got plenty of women on the show and other people I wish I had time to, or who had time in their schedules that had to turn the show down. So, there are a lot of people around here who are actresses, directors, comics, improvisers, DJs, musicians, all of that. So that is really encouraging to see all of that.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's really great, especially, and way up here, way up north in Fargo, North Dakota. And I don't say that to discredit Fargo in any way, shape, or form, but I grew up in the Twin Cities area, and it's a much more liberal area overall, for pretty much everything. Music, this, that, women, men, race, and all of that stuff. So it was kind of a culture shock moving up here. But I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to be what I hope that people see me as a strong female voice in this market. Absolutely. I hope that when people are listening that they say, there's something different about this female. And if you don't know what it is right off the bat, it's just because I'm not playing into that persona. I refuse to be what I'm told to be. And that's probably why I love rock radio so much, because there is a rebellious undertone to rock music that just grips me. Just, and nothing like electric guitars and that kind of stuff. Nothing else grips me that way.
It's just interesting. In the second interview so far, I mentioned we are making progress in some area. I think that's great that we're able to acknowledge that, even though there's still plenty of room to grow in several ways. But,
absolutely. Well, I think this is a really great format to have a conversation about it.
Absolutely.
I don't get an opportunity to talk about this stuff on the air. I champion being a strong female in different ways. I don't go on the air and shout feminism, but am I encourage the feminist movement? Absolutely. I think women should be strong. I think women should be, confident in who they are. I think there should be more talk about that. There's some scary undertones in our country right now that people are finally recognizing them for what they are. Like rape culture is really kind of a terrifying thing. And even as a female, growing up in it, some of the articles I've just opened my eyes up to the way things are worded and the things that you're told. I took self-defense classes in college because I needed to learn how to defend myself. Well, where were the courses for men to learn how to control themselves? And it's those conversations that people like me, I had no idea that I was thinking in the wrong direction, and that really as a society we were kind of going in the wrong direction with that.
Well, and for men, there's so many messages that's you have no control. It's that's not a progressive way to look at men either. That's very, demeaning towards...
It is! Because I know a lot of men who are complete gentlemen. And I would never want to group, guys together and say, because I know a lot of great men. I know men who are fathers, I know men who are brothers, I know men who are grandparents, and just wonderful, great men, men who serve our country and men who work with charitable organizations and give their life to that. I mean, there's great people out there. And you're right, nobody should be clumped.
No.
Men or women or race or whatever, Nobody likes to be clumped into this, assumed place. Well, you're a man, you are here.
But there's a safety in that way of thinking, we're used to, grouping people together. And just the fact that we're discussing and struggling with it, even if, I've probably said some unenlightened things in this interview or whatever, and just, struggle and improve.
Well, I was like, people aren't always going to agree with, everything you say, but that's the amazing thing about America and having freedom of speech is that we're able to have conversations.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I would rather at least talk about it, and maybe somebody hears something that I say that they don't disagree with, or they disagree with, and, you know, share your opinion with me. Why do you disagree with that? I would like to know. You know, I learn every day the more I talk to people. And obviously, I think most people are just striving to be a better person, in general.
Yeah.
Like the song.
Exactly.
And maybe that's why it's so relatable, is because whether it's your love life or a career change, or, you know, maybe you get a pet that changes your life, I don't know. I love my dog, so, but yeah, I think overall people are just striving to be better, and it's figuring out, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What does it mean to be better in my life? What do I do to be a better person in my life?
Yeah.
So.
That's good. So I do want to touch on you as an actress as well. So you've done plays, right?
Feel so professional.
We were not seen in Almost Maine.
Yep, we did Almost Maine.
Yeah.
Becky's New Car. The first play I did in town actually was I can't think of
Sweet
Sweet Charity. Yes, over at the FOCT. So.
Yeah.
And that was fun. That was a big production to step right into.
Yeah.
Coming off of not doing any theater or anything for a very long time, because it wasn't just acting; it was singing and dancing. And I don't dance very good. I will tell you that right now. In fact, my friends usually make fun of me. I'm surprised there's not a YouTube video yet of me dancing at a rock concert like an idiot.
You can probably find one.
I'm sure.
We'll do some searching and then put it on the show.
I have great moves like the Running Man.
Okay.
Or the white people sidestep.
Yes.
You know which one that is, where you just like
the audience can relate to this one.
Okay.
You were also in the chorus of 12 Dates of Christmas, which was just
that's right.
a really fun show.
Yeah, that was a great one. Yeah, I mean, working with Missy, I love her. I got to meet her behind the scenes in Theater B with Almost Maine.
Well, she directed our scene, yeah.
Yep. So, love Missy, love working with her, very talented. And that was a really fun opportunity to kind of do some music stuff.
Yeah.
You know, one thing people probably don't know about that play is that they ended up, when they took it to Broadway, they actually took out those other two female characters. But when they had cast it here at Theater B, they had gotten an early version of the script. Okay. And, you know, the director just liked it so much that he said, you know, we want to keep the three females on the stage. We want to keep the music aspect. We like that the other girls come in and it's kind of a silly doo-wop sort of throwback. And
it's a great chorus. You're kind of the punchline, you know, you emphasize. It's very fun. Yeah.
So, there wasn't really there was built-in music for the script, but a lot of it was copyrighted.
Yeah.
So we couldn't use a lot of the music that they had actually written into the script. So Sarah, myself, and Missy, and our director Blaine, we had to kind of sit down, and some of it we wrote from scratch, and some of it we used a piece of one of my songs instead of an Alanis Morissette tune, and kind of did some substitutions there. So it was a good opportunity to kind of build something.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the type of creative environment that goes into the Theater B shows.
Yeah. Every show I've done here, it's a great experience. The plays are always really, mind-opening, I suppose. You know, I just think Theater B does a good job of picking up on material that is unpredictable.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many of their plays have discussions afterwards. I've been part of some of those for some of their tougher ones, like Good People or Frozen, and that's great to be because you experience a tough moment as an audience about a serial killer or racism, and then you discuss it with an expert after. But
it's great because once again, it's presenting this material, it's opening up conversations that I think people need to be having.
Absolutely.
You know, I think B does a good job of kind of opening up those conversations in our community and going, it's okay to showcase this because you need to talk about it and know it's wrong, or, you know, whatever the case.
Just, struggle with it, think about why,
Instead of having it happen behind closed doors and everyone acting like it doesn't happen.
Yeah,
that doesn't stop it from happening.
North Dakota nice is,
That doesn't stop those things from happening. Having conversations about them and knowing they exist, that's what stops them from happening, hopefully.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, there's always going to be evils in our world.
Well, yeah.
But
we can keep doing our part. Yeah. This has been a good conversation like that.
Yeah.
Enjoyed where it's gone. I didn't expect to discuss so many big
I'm going to talk in a movie today.
That's good.
I really am. So this is a perfect day.
It's a good mood to be in for an interview. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, what haven't we covered that I want to mention something?
Go for it.
I don't even know. Music. What have I said that I don't want to say? I don't know. I think we've covered quite a bit. One thing I was going to say. Another thing about radio.
Yeah.
And getting into radio. Radio has changed so much since the days of you were just a jock.
Yeah.
Because there was a time when you were. You got hired to be a jock, you were an on-air talent, and that was your job. And that's all you did. You prepped a show, you went in, you did a show, you did live appearances and things like that. But if you're serious about getting into radio, you need to know a little bit about everything.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're taking like a communications class, try to get into video editing, even on the side. Dabble into graphic design. Get to know some of the programs that are out there. Because in my workday, I not only do 2 shows, but I also keep up our website. So I'm posting and blogging, so writing, you know, always be writing and practicing writing, take writing classes. I can't think of a career where you can't use writing.
Yeah.
But writing is a big part of it. Graphic design, I do a lot of that for our website as well. I do it for some of our social networking and things like that. And social networking is super important too with radio now. But yeah, you have to know how to do it all.
Yeah.
You know, there is no, you're just a DJ now. There's
You
so
need that
many other
flexibility.
elements that you need to be really like valuable, I suppose, in our industry.
Yeah.
You know, and even where I'm at, where I feel like I could take on any program. I've done music programming, and I can do graphic design, and I do video editing, and I do audio editing, and I have all of these things, and I write. It's still, when I'm out there networking, trying to find the next step in my career, the next market, where do I go next to just take it to another level, I still am struggling to show that I'm highly qualified, because there are so many people out there that just do it all.
Yeah.
And so if you're thinking of radio, communications is a great place to start. I know a lot of students, you know, will take the communications classes, but think about being well-rounded.
Yeah.
You know, all of those other things will benefit you enormously, whether you end up in radio or whether you end up in, you know, marketing or working on the sales side of things. I mean, none of that stuff hurts.
No.
And nowadays it helps to know a lot.
Well, and then even just
No
going
pressure.
into the better person aspect we were talking about, that well-roundedness is very important there. Yeah, that's just refreshing to hear that, because when I listen to the radio, I'm not thinking about, you know, it seems very fluid and natural to me. So it's nice to hear that, there's a lot of work going on and we're thinking about things. So, yeah.
And for those of you who get on the air, don't be afraid to crack the mic for the first time, because it happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the very first time I cracked the mic to do a weather break, and I had a moment of like, nothing's coming out, panic. I'm live. How many people are listening? People are listening to me, right? Oh my gosh, what if I screw up? What if I put the wrong button on the board? Okay, just do the weather, you can do it, you know, like total panic. Everybody goes through it.
Yeah.
You get used to it though.
Yeah.
So, but I think radio is a great career.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And if anything, getting into radio will prepare you for so many other things, because I've learned so much in radio, so many programs, and like I said, the writing and the web and all of these other things that it's been, you know, that it involves now is, I feel like it's really qualified me more than just kind of keeping in the communications side of things, or at least entertainment in general.
Yeah.
You know.
That's great to hear. I'm glad you're doing well and you're excited and you're doing exciting things. So, thank you for coming on and talking so much. No,
Thanks
it
for
makes my job easier. Yes.
No, I hear you. When we do interviews too, there's nothing worse than having someone come in and you ask a question. And, you know, the biggest of stars. Like, for example, we interviewed...
You have the biggest of stars you interview?
Sometimes.
Tom Hanks was on it.
No, not movie. Like, you know, but music.
Okay.
Like, for example, we had the chance to interview, he's a legendary blues guitarist who was just in town, Johnny Winter.
Oh, yeah.
And he is very old. And he has been through hell and back. Like, this man played at the 1969 Woodstock. Okay, with like Janis Joplin, and he had gone through struggles with drugs and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And then he happened to meet a guy named Paul Nelson who kind of helped him resurrect his career.
Yeah.
But I think he's just kind of at the point where if he's not tuned in and focused and ready to go, he's just not kind of there with you.
Yeah.
And it had, prepared this great interview that we got, and, you open it up and you ask the first question, and you just paint this picture, and then the only response you get is, oh yeah, that was fun. And then that was, so glad I could be of help today.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. And that was my interview with Lucy Black. You can hear her on the mornings at Rock 102 with Scotch and Tank, but also throughout the day, and she does blogging for the radio station, and you can find her on YouTube and other various local events. So make sure to like Rock 102 on Facebook to keep in touch with her. This has been Comedy from the Middle of Nowhere. I'm Scott Ecker. I hope you learned something, and if not, I hope you had fun.